certain things that I say are going to stick out more than the parts of an insect, right? And that's the experience that I'm going to give to you. You're going to give similar experiences to your students or your outreach participants, whoever you're going to communicate with. So their experience and how they interface with you is going to be a lot more lasting than the facts that you teach them. So just kind of keep that in mind. So I'm Melissa. I work for Watermark Insights, which is a higher education solution software company. Not trying to recruit y'all, I promise. But I am a double dog. So when from the time I was 4 years old, I was like, I'm going to go to UGA and I'm going to be a vet, just like every little girl in Metro Atlanta. So I came to UGA, I did all the classes, and I did not get into vet school, despite working real hard, and I was super bummed about it. But my senior year of undergrad, I started taking a lot of entomology courses, which is why I'm the bug lady here. And I actually got a job with the Brown Lab studying mosquitoes, and I thought, you know, this could be fun. I worked with Aedes aegypti, and that is the yellow fever mosquito. Has anybody taken a medical entomology course or anything? Ooh, oh, nice. Ooh, excellent. With Dr. Champagne. Yep. So before we go any further, how many of y'all are in a science-based major? Okay, how many of y'all are in like business, finance major, like Terry? Okay, cool, awesome. No, I asked that for a reason. So my whole master's degree was on mosquito physiology and studying the impacts of cancer curing drugs on mosquito reproduction. So any kind of cancer therapy that maybe proved that it didn't work through USDA trials or FDA trials, we would try it on mosquitoes to see if it could do mosquito control potentially like in Africa and Caribbean and India, things like that. After graduate school, I got a job with the University of Georgia Extension. So this is going to be a really good kind of landing pad for you guys, a good option who are science-based and also business-minded. This extension, cooperative extension in general, is a nationwide program. And it's a partnership with the land grant institution of that state and local county governments. So what you'll see here is everybody recognize that 4-H logo?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't know what cooperative extension is, you'll either know 4-H or Master Gardeners. That's where most people know what that is. I was an agriculture agent, so I helped out with 4-H a little bit, but I primarily worked with farmers, and when I was in North Georgia, I specifically worked with vineyards. And did a lot of wine grape trials and pruning and things like that. And then I came down to Atlanta. I transferred counties, and I worked with small acreage organic farmers and did kind of some sustainability trials and things like that. And then for Fulton County, because I actually live in the Atlanta area, we have something called Fulton Fresh, which is where we take locally grown produce and distribute it throughout food desert areas in like South Fulton County and West Fulton County. So that's kind of the connection there. It's all the three pillars, the family and consumer sciences, 4-H, and agriculture are all kind of represented there. We, especially in metro areas, we talk to and work with each other a lot. So if anybody's kind of interested in that, you're what's called a county faculty member. So it's basically like you're a professor, you're designing workshops and curricula and teaching it, but you're doing it at libraries, you're doing it, maybe at local community colleges, you're doing it at your own office, and you're engaging members of the community, not just college students. You're engaging everybody from infants all the way up to retirees and people in hospices and care homes. So it's a really great career option if anybody's interested. And I have a list. Rangernick is welcome to share this PowerPoint out so you guys have all of those links and everything. But that's just a smattering of some of the things that they do. So green landscape stewardship, so sustainable landscaping, master beekeeper, master composter, and then we've got family and consumer science stuff, preventing type 2 diabetes, radon testing, stuff you didn't even know was an issue that some areas of the state deal with. So there's a lot of different things. Odds are you can find something that will interest you that you can work with. Are we frozen? We went back. Why can't we go forward? Okay.
Oh, there we go.
All right. So I spent 6 years with Cooperative Extension, and I invested in TRS. I thought I was going to retire there. And then, like so many other people, COVID-19 kind of, threw a wrench in that plan. Just because inflation and everything, and salaries are a whole thing, taxes, life in general, right? Sometimes you just need to reevaluate where you're going, your career ladder, and what kind of resources you actually need. So what I did is I kind of sat down, and I'm a cat lady, if you can't tell. But I sat down and I said, what do I love most about this job? And it was the interfacing with people. It was the mentoring aspect. It was the curriculum design. I loved things like that. And then I looked at what am I good at with this job? And I was like, okay, well, I'm good at relating with people. I am very trainable. And, just a little bit more. And then one of these days, I'll actually be able to say what I'm good at. Imposter syndrome. Everybody has it. But then I had a list of what do I not want to do. I do not want to manage budgets. I don't want to touch money. I don't want to do, I don't want to manage people. And so that is actually how I landed in my current career. So I think on the title page I had that I was a Scrum Master. So if y'all are in Terry, you've maybe heard of agile methodologies and things like that. The title isn't necessarily as important as the concept. So basically what I'm doing is coaching and mentoring software development teams in how to use agile methodologies. Agile methodologies is just iterative delivery. Okay, I have another slide that's gonna make this a little bit more relevant, I promise. Also gonna shield the team from distractions, remove blockers from any team members, solve problems. So much of your career path is gonna be focused on how you solve problems more effectively and just in general better than anybody else. Working with teams to enhance your product and keeping your team relationships healthy. So a lot of people, when they think about software development, they don't really think about kind of a team relationship dynamic. They don't think about somebody checking in on you, kind of like almost like a classroom mother. That's kind of my job. Did you have a question?
Do you keep, like, this problem solving stuff, do you keep it to software, or like do you expand that to other folks that might need it? Like, do you have other sectors of business and stuff where you employ this?
Ooh, yeah. So for my job, I keep it with software development, but my husband and I are actually volunteering with our community garden. So we do a lot of we've been doing grant writing. We have been, if anybody knows anything about community gardens, they are problems. So when you work with them, you do a lot of problem solving and things like that. And also just in general, everybody's doing problem solving all the time. You have 3 tests coming up. I bet somebody has physics, organic chemistry, and probably either a math or biology test, all within 5 days of each other. Y'all ever had that?
Yes.
I've had that. That is a problem that you have to figure out how to manage your time and solve. And you can distill that experience into a marketable skill. And we can talk more about that at the end. But just kind of think about it in that term. So here's the connections. Here's where we see things where they kind of overlap and how you can make a career transition. I don't want you guys to think like, oh no, I'm not going to get a job in sciences, because you absolutely will. But what I want you guys to understand is I'm 35. When I started my career, when I graduated grad school, I was 24, 25. I'm a completely different person. My needs, my wants, completely different. The same thing is going to happen to you guys, right? So when I was 25, I saw UGA Extension. We translate the science of everyday living for farmers, families, and communities to foster a healthy and prosperous Georgia. That is their mission statement. When I went to Watermark Insights, their mission statement was built for higher ed, our solutions give institutions the insights they need to improve, evolve, and empower student success. they're not that different in the philosophy behind them. It's all about empowering people who do not have the tools that they need at their disposal. You are providing those tools. You are providing those solutions. That is the core of what I decided I wanted out of my career. So that's how I made that transition. And when you think about it, you have the scientific method, which you're going to form a question. You're going to make your hypothesis. You're going to conduct your experiments, analyze your results, and put the results to work. If anybody's working in a lab, you know it's not always that linear. But that's, in general, the flow of it, right? Software is the same. Software is science. So you can work in a lab and design your experiments and see what you think is going to work. And apply that same concept to developing software. Could be construction. You can apply that concept to anything. So if 10 years, 20 years down the line, you do say like, hey, I haven't gotten a raise in like 5 years, or I'm just burnt out, I don't have time, or I just want something different. It's okay. You guys have a lot of pressure at this point in your life to make big decisions that are going to affect you way down the line. Don't cave into that pressure. Understand that you can make decisions now and you're not going to be stuck. A lot of us are not going to make the same decisions that our parents and grandparents did career-wise as far as staying at a single company and working up the ladder. Some of us will, but the job market is completely different. So understanding how you can use your degree and your skills and your experiences, whether they're science-based, whether they're business-based, whether they're history-based, and apply it and become adaptable, just like insects. That was a bit of a stretch of a segue there.
I liked it.
Oh,
Hey, Larissa,
thanks.
that was good. Do you want to hit that little lever behind you just to turn the lights down a little? You don't mind that one
I
on
was
the
wondering
right?
if
I think. Yeah. Well, okay. Or see the little bar behind you below your hand, right? Yeah. You get there. You go. You can kind of adjust. There you go.
I'm like going to sleep.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Thanks.
I finally updated these slides too, by the way.
Oh, there you go.
So today we are talking about primarily insects, but it's going to be hard to talk about insects without talking about arthropods in general. And what time do we end here?
10:50.
10:50. Oh, you scared me.
10 o'clock. No, I'm just kidding.
10:15.
What?
Oh my God. Okay. So arthropods in general, that word comes from jointed foot. Arthro, like arthritis. Pod, like poda, means foot. And there's a bunch of things that you didn't even realize are all related here. So we've got the chelicerates, so things like sea spiders and horseshoe crabs, also scorpions and spiders. We've got all the centipedes and millipedes. We've got isopods, which are somewhere on here. They're actually land-dwelling crustaceans. So if anybody's seen a roly-poly, that's actually more closely related to a shrimp than an insect. Subphylum Hexapoda, that is where we're going to live most of today, is where the insects are. Hexapoda, if arthropod means jointed foot, what does hexapoda mean? 6 feet. Exactly, 6 legs. Perfect. So here we can kind of see, this is just a general chart of what diversity there is. It's by no means exhaustive, and we'll see why in a second. And then here we have a taxonomic tree. And I was never great at taxonomy, so excuse me while I get all my phylogenetic terms mixed up, but that's kind of how things are related, almost like a flow chart if y'all haven't seen that before. So why do we care about arthropods and insects? And this is why, and I hope this sticks with you, because arthropods and insects are not only an insane amount of diversity of life on Earth, they are also an insane amount of biomass. So we have possibly up to 6 million species of insects, and only 1 million are described. Well, how do they get that 6 million number? That's just an estimate based on the rate that new insects are being found. versus the amount of unexplored areas that they could possibly be. Some people even estimate up to 30 million, but that's a little generous there. Ant colonies can have about 630,000 individuals, whereas termite nests have over 3 million. That's basically the size of Atlanta or Boston in a termite mound or an ant nest. You know, they're little metropolitan areas. And so you can see here, I realize now you can actually see my cursor, so that's good. We have some, you know, different phyla here. We've got arachnids, we've got mollusks right here, we've got crustaceans. So all of this is actually arthropods. And then here's vertebrates. It's pretty humbling, right? We don't have nearly the amount of diversity. We are just like the same size as other invertebrates. And that's not even just mammals. That all vertebrates includes reptiles, birds, all sorts of stuff. So we are just kind of that tiny sliver compared to 73% of described species of animals on our planet are insects. So what are the most important insects, right? You're not going to be able to memorize all of those. I went to grad school for 3 years and was not able to memorize all of them. So let's prioritize here. When you're doing outreaches and when you're talking about insects, you're going to have 5 main orders or groups of insects that you're going to get questions about or that you will be likely to see. First is going to be Lepidoptera. Can anybody guess what Lepidoptera means? If you break it up. Ptera means wing, yep. So you have a lot of ptera suffixes. What about Lepido? Or lep? Spot or scale. Yep.
Good.
Yep. And then we've got Hymenoptera. Means membranous wing. Coleoptera is sheathed wing. What about Diptera?
2 wings.
2, yeah, that's a pretty easy one. And Hemiptera, oh, I misspelled that and that's embarrassing. That is Hemiptera, Hemiptera. So half wing, exactly. So you'll see a lot of the names of these insects, the official taxonomic names, are actually descriptive and they tell you how you can identify it. So Lepidoptera, they have scales on their wings that give them the color. If you've ever caught a moth or you've ever touched a butterfly, that fine powder that comes off of them, those are scales that reflect and refract light. Hymenoptera have membranous wings. They also look like fighter jets. There's something very visceral that activates in my brain when I see a yellow jacket. Even though I'm an entomologist, I do not like them. Coleoptera, sheathed wings, they have the shell. They have protected wings. Diptera only will ever have 2 wings, and we'll talk more about that. And Hemiptera, they have this nifty little X on the back because half of their wings are hardened and half are membranous. So it forms an X when they fold their wings over. So those are the 5 most numerous and diverse orders of insects. 3 more that I think you guys should familiarize yourselves with are Orthoptera, which I mean, it's a little misleading, but ortho, kind of like toothed. And then Blatodia, I can never remember what blatto means. And then we have odonates, which are your dragonflies. So we've got our grasshoppers, Orthoptera is grasshoppers, katydids, all sorts of singing insects, a lot of singing insects. Blatodia is all cockroaches and mantises. And then what's the other weird one that's in Blatodia?
Termites.
Weird one.
Termites, yep. Yep. So mantises, termites, and cockroaches are all related. And then your odonates are going to be your dragonflies and your damselflies. So these are all pretty standard. I call these the entry-level insects, right? You know what these look like. You've seen these before. But even though these are not the most diverse group, this is what they can look like. So nobody really thinks about a pretty cockroach, right? But that's a cockroach. That blue over there, blue, it's like highlighter blue and highlighter yellow. I believe this is somewhere in Malaysia. Orthoptera, we have some really vibrantly colored lovers, even around Athens. I don't know if any of y'all are up, what's that street? It's like up by Terrapin, used to be Pulaski Heights Barbecue. That whole area, there's an actual colony of really pretty lovers that have lived there for years. And then we've also got really interesting diversity in their life stages. So this is a dragonfly nymph. It looks totally different and it inhabits a totally different niche and it feeds on fish. So not only do they look a lot different, they have different habits and niches. So how do we actually know if it's an insect though? Well, here are basically the check boxes that you've got to remember. All insects are going to have 6 legs without exception. If you do see an insect without 6 legs, it started with 6. It's just had a rough time. Promise you. All insects also have a distinct body plan of 3 segments. That's the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. They all have a hard shell on the outside that sheds, called an exoskeleton. They have a single pair of antennae. They may be really hard to spot, but they always only have 1 pair. And most, if not all, undergo metamorphosis of some sort. Now, things that are not insects are also pretty important to know because you're going to have questions about spiders and scorpions and all kinds of fun stuff. So some important parts for these guys are the chelicerae. This is what gives this group its name. So the chelicerae are the fangs. They produce venom and they help immobilize their prey and break down the muscle tissue of their prey. So that's what makes them different from insects, which have different mouth parts. They also have extended pedipalps. So pedipalps, if you imagine, are actual mouth parts, but they're kind of like fingers. So imagine if you could just like put your face down to a burger and you just had these like hands that came out and then just grabbed it to your face, right? So these are not arms on scorpions. These are mouth parts. They're pinchers, are actual mouth parts. They are specifically meant for food, not necessarily defense. And then also, they always have 8 legs. All chelicerates have 8 legs. Now I threw in this slide not because I'm going to quiz you guys on it, but just because when you're teaching about insects, it's good to have a basic lexicon and just kind of like basic things that people will have questions about or things that you can use to tell a story, right? So when you talk about metamorphosis, you have different types. You have, does anybody know that there's more than 2, but most people are taught 2. 2 types. Say it with your chest. I thought I heard somebody mumbling, but there is incomplete and complete. So incomplete are going to be things like your bugs, things where the nymphs look like the adults. They occupy the same niche. It does not take a lot of energy to undergo that. But then you have complete metamorphosis, which is going to be like your butterflies, right? Where you have a larvae that looks really different from the adult, oftentimes occupies a different niche, and then will just hole up inside of a cocoon or a chrysalis, turn into goop, and then turn into a butterfly, or a moth, or something else. Also, feeding habits are always useful to know. You guys may have come across these terms, generalist versus specialist. So things like mosquitoes, they are specialists on blood. Sometimes they are specialists on various primates or birds or something else versus a grasshopper that's just going to eat any leaf that it finds. Also, knowing the different mouth parts are pretty valuable. Mouth parts tell you a lot about the insect's role in the environment. So going back to mosquitoes, because they're my grad school model, a long, stiff nose, right, or long, stiff mouth parts meant for piercing and sucking are specifically designed for blood drinking. And if something drinks blood and is, biting one thing versus another, what do you think makes that insect important? What do you think that insect can do? Disease, yep, exactly. So things like that, whereas, flies, they have sponging mouth parts, so they tend to dissolve things, so they can break things down. They can be like nature's garbage men and kind of help dissolve and break down trash. Also, ovipositors are important for egg deposition, but wasps have a very special type of ovipositor Does anybody know what their ovipositor is?
Oh, they're stingers.
It's a stinger,
Little
yeah.
stinger,
That's
yeah,
why only
okay.
female wasps can sting, without exception, because it is an egg-laying organ. Also, elytras are specific to beetles. That's what the official name for their shell. Spiracles are the holes that they breathe through, and halteres are drumstick-like extensions that kind of act as a gyroscope to help flies balance in flight, because they've only got the 2 wings instead of 4. So, just some helpful terms to know. Again, I'm not going to quiz you on it. But why should we teach about them? I know why we should care. They make up a huge portion of our biodiversity, right? Well, what are some stories that we can tell with insects? One is going to be the ecological importance. They are really great biomonitors. So if you kind of sample a stream, you can look at the biodiversity, and certain types of species can indicate the health of that stream environment. They're also really important food sources. A lot of them are at the bottom of the food chain and are absolutely needed for higher level predators. They're also incredibly agriculturally relevant, both positively and negatively. A lot of them are crop pests. We've got the kudzu bug, we've got, I'm sure y'all have heard about the lantern flies in Georgia now, things like that. But we also have bees that are important for pollination, both native bees and honeybees, which are actually considered livestock. They also have a lot of advantages for humans. We can actually use insects to control other insects. Remember I said that some are specialists? There's a really cool interaction called parasitoids. It's not just parasitism. The wasp will actually take her ovipositor, lay an egg in a host organism, like a caterpillar or an aphid. The larvae will eat the host organism from the inside out and then emerge as an adult. That interaction is species specific. So if you have an invasive species come over here, like again, for example, the kudzu bug came over in 2008, they have a parasitoid from their home country that only preys on them. So you can use this without off-target effects as opposed to using pesticides or using something broad spectrum that could potentially have drift and all sorts of things. We also use them as model organisms. So if y'all know about Drosophila, the fruit flies, if you take a genetics class, you'll hear all about them. And then also, not necessarily important in the United States or most of the Western world, but the rest of the world is really big in entomophagy, actually. And that means consuming insects. And crickets are actually a great renewable resource of protein powder. So it's not just, oh, well, they're going to roast a grub over a fire and eat it. But there is actually some really cool sustainability aspects that we can explore with that. So how do you actually teach with insects? Make sure you cater to your audience, right? And you'll see this is not just for insects. This is just kind of for teaching in general. Remember one of the questions I asked right after I started? What did I ask you guys? What your majors were, right? Science-based versus non-science. So knowing who your audience is really important. Your school outreach script, for lack of a better term, or maybe mindset. I know we're trying to get away from scripts here, but your mindset, the language that you use, the stories that you're going to tell is going to be very different from you going to an event with stakeholders who might be donors, to the Department of Entomology. You're going to speak really differently. You're going to maybe take different types of insects and arthropods to talk with them about. You're going to take different teaching materials. So keeping that in mind, your audience and the age and experience thereof is going to really shape how you're going to speak to them and the way that you make the impact that you're going to make. Also, this may be kind of surprising. I always tell people stay within your comfort zone while you're teaching. I'm not going to get up here and grab a tarantula and show it around because I'm not comfortable with that. Tarantulas are fine. They're great. We're going to talk about one of them. They're a great entry-level outreach in arthropod, but it's been a while since I've handled one. I'm not going to do that for the first time in front of you guys. People are going to notice if you're uncomfortable, and this is a really important thing for you guys to remember is you are setting the tone as the facilitator, as the presenter, as the teacher. You are setting the tone. People are going to look to you, even if you don't realize that you are the grown-up in this situation, you are the grown-up in this situation. So whether they are twice your age or they're half your age, if you are holding that insect, you are the expert and you are in control. They're looking to you for guidance and to see what's up. So if they see you shaking and you're like, they're going to be afraid of it too. Also, the arthropods are going to notice you have a lot of, not like they'll smell your fear, like I don't want you to think that, but they are going to realize your movements are a little bit jerkier, maybe your breathing is increased, you're going to be a little bit warmer, and that's going to agitate them a lot. And they're not going to feel very safe, so they may be actually a little bit more defensive, or they may be a little bit jumpier to try to avoid the situation. So what you want to do is, when you're not doing your outreach, when you're not in the middle of it, spend additional time learning your tools. Again, this is just beyond insects. This is anything that you might be teaching with. Just practice talking. In software, we call it the rubber ducky. You have something that you just practice talking to, and you think your thoughts. You just kind of get used to presenting yourself in a certain way. So now, speaking of getting to know your tools, we have here more special guests. So I do want to say these are live insects. I'm not the type of person to force anybody to interact with them, because that's a really great way to actually hurt your insects if you try to force them on someone. But these guys are really, really cool because they're easy to keep in colony. Maybe some of you had a science teacher in college, or you had a professor that you've already interacted with these. You feed them dog food, you throw them in a box, you get some males and females, and they just go. Really, to the point where it can be a problem if you're not prepared for it. They're really interesting because they actually give live birth. A lot of insects do not. They are detritivores, so that means they're kind of nature's garbage men. They eat a lot of trash, leaf litter, and they can actually eat wood, which is why they're related to termites. They have a symbiont that they can digest cellulose. And they also make a hissing noise. This is their adaptation that is defensive. And I think it's really important too. I'm not going to hand them off yet. We're going to do that kind of towards the end of class. Oh, he's singing today.
Yeah, Miles discovered that too. My son, we took this fella out the other day, and he's, oh my gosh, I said, he's got a lot to say.
Well, usually it's the males that are more vocal. This little lady's
Is that the lady? Yeah.
She's got a voice on her. So basically what happens with these guys is they're not actually screaming out of their mouths. Because remember I said spiracles are the holes that they breathe through? So they actually have a spiracle. They're all down their abdomen. They have a single spiracle up here at the front of their abdomen. And that's where that sound is coming from. They're like whistling out of that single spiracle. So when you do hold them and you hear that noise, you'll know exactly where it's coming from. And one thing I like to tell people is, I do use the term entry-level sedan regarding like insects. These guys are really easy. These guys in millipedes, so easy. They don't bite, they don't sting, they don't jump, they don't fly. They can run a little bit fast. But what you can learn is when you're working with animals, sometimes if you don't want them to be super active, run them around a little bit beforehand, right?
Tire him out.
It's not like put a leash on him or whatever, but
Right.
handle him for 5 or 10 minutes prior to the engagement. Or if you know that they can get a little agitated, make sure that you don't handle them, right? Like I wanted that hiss to happen the minute I picked it up, so I did not handle this at all. And see, now that I'm handling her, she's used to it. She's not really hissing anymore. She knows I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to keep in mind is the habits of your insects. So these guys are great, really cheap, really easy to find at pet shops. A lot of people actually use them to feed their bearded dragons and stuff. So we will have some more time with that. I want to kind of prioritize just going through things. And I'll teach you guys how to kind of hand them off. It's a little harder to do that right now. Another good one, I did say that we'll talk about tarantulas, the Chilean rose hair tarantulas. A lot of times we'll see Mexican red knees which are, you know, the typical Halloween tarantula. They've got the orange and black striped legs. These guys are even more docile, and they're a pretty little pink color. They're naturally found in Chile. They are nocturnal, so they're nice and chill during the daytime when you take them out. They're very active at night. So if you have like a parent-teacher night or something, they're gonna be a little bit jumpier, a little bit more active in the evening. But if you have a daytime outreach, they're gonna be nice and relaxed in your hand. They burrow into the soil, and a lot of people are worried about tarantulas biting you. It's not actually gonna be likely to happen because venom for them is very costly to produce, and they are very aware that you are much larger than them. Venom is for eating. They know that they're not gonna eat you. So what they're gonna do instead is they're gonna shed hairs. So if you guys have ever touched a stinging nettle or a prickly pear cactus or anything like that, it's really irritating and almost gives you a rash. That's what their hairs do. So they're gonna do that, and even then, these guys are so docile, you'd have to literally take them in your hands, shake them, and say really nasty things to them to even get them to consider doing that to you. But the thing I want to leave you guys with before we go into our more hands-on activities are making sure that you know why you do this. Not necessarily like why you're teaching with insects. Well, you have to get a good grade, right? That's the lecture for today. Obviously, that's easy. That's like when you're applying to a job. Why do you want to work here? I need money. Why are you here? I need the grades. But thinking about when you're going a level deeper, why did you specifically take this class above something else? Why do you look forward to coming to this class? Why are you potentially thinking about becoming a teacher? And these are some things, I've told you why I do it, because I enjoy it. There are certain things that I'm good at. A lot of people are gonna do it because you get to challenge perspectives, especially with insects. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not gonna touch that. And then by the end of it, they're like, oh, but he's kind of cute. It also is a way for you to connect with your community. You can also instill confidence and curiosity, especially in younger kids, but even in adults. I've had so many events where we used to have an event called Oktoberfest, where we would go to Terrapin, and drunk adults are very similar to 5-year-olds, except their motor skills are a little bit worse. But you're still able to kind of connect with them and get that wonder with them. And when you talk to them and you have something interesting that they've never interfaced with, it does bring out that curiosity. So you'll see people almost like regress in age as that curiosity comes up. So be on the lookout for that if you, in your like kind of youth outreaches versus your adult outreaches. Because that's just a really interesting thing to kind of keep in mind. So right now, I will go ahead and take any questions before we enter the later portion of the class.
What's that?
Oh, that is Paraphasma schultii. So that is a type of stick insect. It is my favorite, one of my favorite insects, my top 3. And it is located in a 13-hectare acre in Peru, hence Paraphasma in the name. And we also keep them in culture in the insect zoo. They are very cool, they are very velvety, and they have startle coloration. They have bright red wing pads. And their faces are just real dorky. All right, well, feel free if y'all ever have any questions about kind of career stuff, or you just want to connect on LinkedIn, or if you want an extension connection, I can give you some tips. Feel free to shoot me an email or find me on LinkedIn. Now, what we're gonna do is, before we get into the crafty bit, I do want to actually practically show you how to work and handle your insects. So I'm sure you've shown them with others like reptiles and things like that.
Yes.
This isn't going to be too different. So these guys are easy. You just pick them up. You don't even have to like let them walk on your head. I need a volunteer.
Look at those
Okay,
hands.
we'll do this multiple times. I want both you and you to come up, please. What are y'all's names?
Caleb.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna form a chain. So, okay. Now what I'm gonna do here is when you are handing off even an insect, right? These guys are super durable. I'm not gonna lie. Like if they drop, don't panic, but make sure to pick them up. Their exoskeleton is so hard that they can tolerate being dropped from higher distances than we can. But still, you don't really want the kids to be talking about that happening at your event. So when you hand off your insect, get a feel for kind of their personality, where they're at, meet them where they're at, right? She's pretty chill right now, so I know I'm gonna have to kind of really convince her to get off of my hand. But what I always want you guys to do is grab the person's hand, because what happens is no matter how convicted they are, yeah, they're gonna pull back. They're gonna pull back the minute they feel these little claws on their hand, and just discuss about like what it's gonna feel like. So when I put her on your hand, it's gonna feel like Velcro. If you're not sure, if you've never felt it before, it's gonna feel like, you know, it might feel like pins or needles or something. It might feel like they're biting, it might feel like they're stinging, but it's not actually painful. It's like the feeling before that. So it's like a little stick. So she's gonna go onto your hand, and see, I'm grabbing her hand. She naturally pulled her hand over. I don't let go until I know that she's okay.
That's right, Drake. Look at that. For all the folks at home. There you go. Look at that. Smiling.
All right, so now I want you to pass it down. Using that, so grab the hand. Yep, we had a little hiss there.
Saying something to you, Kaylin.
All right, who's next? Who wants? All right, go ahead and pass it over.
That's great.
Whoever wants to, go ahead and form a line, and then we can just kind of pass it on down.
I'm trusting you so
Good for you, Caleb. Good deal.
And surprise, I've got two more. So we can make sure that everybody's doing this. If we want some more folks to come over here, we can start another line over here.
Look at all the fun, nice folks out there. There they are.
She's actually so cool.
Wow.
Is this a first, Miles, or not? Is it good for you?
Barring
That's
any,
great.
getting any out of my apartment.
Oh, right. I know the Georgia variety, not the Madagascar kind. You know, my gosh, look at that.
No, these are from Sandy Creek, so Nick gets these every time.
Yeah, Mr. Randy gives them to Now, y'all may not know, I'm not the biggest fan of these. So they're, I like them, but I'm just not super comfortable. So that kind of, you're doing great. You're doing great. Look at, I mean, that's a good size, you know? Yeah. Yeah, come on up, y'all. Come on up.
Hey, if you guys want to take pictures or anything, you're welcome.
This is great. Getting all this on video.
Snacks on demand. Yeah, it's pretty great.
We'll get you so everybody at home can see. There you go.
Do you want to hold him? Sure.
Doing great. So is this a first for you all?
Yeah.
Is this first? Yeah, is it really? Good for you.
My roommate had two, Morticia and Gomez, but I never held them. They just lived in the apartment.
Like
Yeah.
in a
Roommates.
container?
Yeah, in a container. They were not free range. I don't think the landlord would have liked that.
Right. That's great. Good for you. Look at this. So that's a first for you?
Yeah.
Look at you. So Melissa told us that was likely a female because it doesn't have the little horns. Right? Do you know that? So like on the back, I'll just kind of, so back there would be little horns. Well, actually that,
I don't know.
you have to ask the expert. I think that's still because the males have real big bumps.
No, don't throw it. No. Would
Yeah.
you like to hold it?
You done this before, Luke?
I'm gonna take a photo.
I actually had a friend who had some of these.
Oh, yeah?
So I've held them before. It was a while.
Cool. They're real easy to keep. And now I have carrots in there and pieces of veggies. They eat compost.
Over again, and then once more before we in Georgia. So that's
Good
why
for you.
those aren't the same butterflies surviving for 4 months.
Yeah.
They're actually starting over.
Look at
So
y'all.
usually you'd see anywhere between like 2 and 5.
Sir?
Have you done this before, Lori?
No.
Really? Look at y'all. Good for you.
But yeah, these guys just keep on.
There we go.
Oh,
That's a little smaller one. You know. Now this is the male, right, with the little horns. Okay.
Why do you think
Okay.
the males might be smaller?
Less like need to defend the question or something like that, or less resources needed.
Yeah.
Less resources needed because they are not the ones birthing the young. Exactly.
You okay, Avery?
Yes, these are.
I know. I've never been super
Yeah.
comfortable
So
with
we
insects.
should lay their eggs.
That's okay.
But
You were okay right there. You know.
Antisect base. It's like a foamy thing. That's also an Ootheca. And
Pretty
the
cool.
difference with these guys is their Ootheca have worms on the inside, and then they'll hatch. And then the
Good for y'all.
Like, you don't even feel
So they still form an Ootheca, they just don't lay the Ootheca.
Come on.
Look at you, basically a mother size chicken.
It's wild to see, and that's a good size one. That is a breed. You've got a nice size. That's the female there. You know, they're usually a little bit bigger, and they don't have the little horns. There you go.
Bree, do you want me to take a picture? Sure. Do you have your
Great.
in my butt pocket if you want to grab it?
Good for y'all. Javi's gonna watch this later and go, what? Kate's gonna watch this and say, look at this.
Where's Origin? Okay, I'm gonna put this back.
This is great.
Caleb's not gonna
You can do it. No, I need a hand at some point. So. I'm actually really sad. Okay.
We're on time, I think. We're supposed to. We've got like about 20 minutes or so.
Perfect.
Is that gonna be all right?
So we're gonna
for the
wrap
next
this up in
thing?
a second, yeah.
Cool. That's great. This is great. I'm very proud of this group.
Is it gonna cat? Has everybody else who wanted to gotten to hold one? Anybody else want to hold them?
Proof is there.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
So while we're experiencing this, I want to do something kind of different from what I usually do. I know the insects are really cool right now, but I want you guys to think about, you guys are experiencing it, right? Like a student, like a participant.
I'll be right back. I'm
I
gonna
want
go
you
get
to
it.
flip that perspective for a second and kind of look at this situation from my eyes. What do you see me doing?
Walking around making sure that people are good.
Yes, making sure everyone's behaving. My eyes are always on my tools, where my insects are. These are not my insects. They are beholden to someone else. I do not want to lose them. Something that can help also, not just with insects, but like if you pass out markers to a class, if you pass out scissors, give them a name. If you want it back and you're dealing with 5-year-olds and you say you hand someone a pair of scissors and you say, this is Charlie and I really need Charlie back, you better believe by the end of the class you're going to forget about him and the kids are going to be like, but you need Charlie. You need Charlie. Something silly as scissors. Give those cockroaches a name. Give your insects a name, not just to make it cutesy, but also a little bit more relatable and approachable. So I'm walking around, I'm answering questions too. A lot of people had questions that they don't feel comfortable asking in a classroom setting, but when you're right in front of them, they're gonna be like, hey, I have this question. You know, I worry that it's a stupid question. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put these back.
I forgot the hand sanitizer earlier, y'all, but I brought it up from my office right there for you, just in case.
That could be a defense thing. Yeah. But she might also be cleaning herself.
Was this a first for you, Charlie? Hold it. You've done.
I thought it was great, so I was
Cool. That's where I go. I just get a couple out. You know, the big tanks. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's good. Okay.
All right, everybody. All right, so for the other half of you that weren't super into that, totally fine. We are going to do an exercise that you can also take to fellow participants who are not maybe as into dealing with live insects or may not be able to interact with them in the same way. So we have a little origami craft. Oh, I'm so glad I haven't gotten that reaction before. So we are gonna make a bee today. We're gonna make an origami bee, and I've got some nice brightly colored paper. If you guys wouldn't mind kind of passing these stacks around. Got a couple for you. And then I have at least 30 sheets. So I think you guys are just
Theater, you want one?
and they will
Do one.
You know, fold it up. That's right.
He is really interested in insects. Like, he'll stop if he sees like an ant walking around and like nudge his nose up to it.
Aw.
Which, yeah.
So as you guys are passing these around, I want to give you guys kind of the philosophy behind why I do this. Obviously, you're not always going to have insects at your disposal when you're teaching about insects, right? So this is just a really fun, really low impact craft, low risk rather.
Yeah.
Does anybody not have a piece of paper? Awesome. I'm going to do this too. So just having a lot of tools in your toolbox, and this is one of those for when you go into, I don't know, a second grade classroom and you're teaching about bees and, well, how do I make my own bee? You could be talking while you're doing this craft and using it as a tool to teach. And also there's different iterations of it. So this, right now, the simplest form is a piece of paper. The next step up is a piece of paper and a marker. So if they want to, they can color eyes on it, or they can make stripes on it, whatever you guys want to do. I've got some crayons and some markers here, but we're going to fold it first. And then third iteration, the final form, googly eyes. Googly eyes, just always have them offhand. There's no reason not to. They're so cheap. Please, just get yourself some googly eyes. It will help in these trying times. So, what we're going to do, I'm going to do this with you. And I think it's really important, I've told Nick this before, that it's really important for you guys to realize that even the presenters, even the people who are teaching you, we don't always have our stuff together, right? We're not always perfect. We have to practice and learn how to do things. And sometimes with crafts like this, I am not great at spatial relations or object permanence or really anything that you need to do origami. So I would probably need to practice this a lot if I were doing this in front of kids or something. But we're going to do this together. I do this exactly once a year. So you can see that even folks like me who have been doing this close to 20 years need some practice and aren't great at every part of their job. So let's go ahead and start. So this is what we're going to be making, this right here. All right, so everybody has a square sheet of paper, right? It's perfectly square. If you have a pen or a pencil and you want to make the stripes, you totally can. Otherwise, we typically just do that at the end. But you're going to hold it like a diamond, right?
Look at everyone.
So then you fold the paper in half from right to left.
Let's just keep up with what we're doing here.
Let's see what we're doing.
Let's see what we're doing here. I'm the best camera.
And then you
My
open it.
fingers over the lens.
And then flip it to the other side.
Kate and Holly are going to watch this.
So you're going to make what looks like an X or a kite. Is everybody here? We're getting here. Good. Okay, so now we have the X. Now we're going to fold the bottom corner up to the center line. See how they're doing that? Bottom corner, center line. And then flip it over. Now this is where it gets tricky.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, this is the watershed moment.
That's right. Second grade to college, real quick.
So you've got kind of like a, I don't know, what is that? It looks kind of like a diamond, right? So you're gonna take this corner, fold it. Yeah, just a little bit. Okay, so this corner is what they're folding up. So it should almost look like a paper airplane, kind of like that portion of it. And then do the same thing on the other side, with the other corner. And this is something to think about as we're going through this. Obviously, it seems like you guys aren't having too much trouble. If you have a rowdy group or something, you could call it here. Or if you're short on time, you can call it here because, again, it's more like the experience of making your own bees. With something like this, they get to take something home. As you're talking about, oh, well, what questions about bees do you have? Maybe you've made a 10-minute presentation about bees, and we can talk about, one time I saw a bee in my backyard, and because, 5-year-olds love to say that.
Sure.
And just kind of exchanging stories, and again, having that relative experience is going to be more important than them actually following this correctly, right? The fact that they're leaving with something and experiencing something with you is going to be the most important thing. So don't get stressed out if they're having a little bit of trouble. You might have just missed that, so I'm going to read it. All right, so we've got it like this. Now you're going to fold the right corner to line up with the edge. We're going to do this on both sides.
We're doing a really great job. That's great.
It's really good. It's really, look at this whole line.
There's the example right there. Mama's got it. How to do
So
it.
it kind of gives it like a rounded appearance, right?
Yeah.
Really neat.
You don't have those sharp corners. Yeah. And then we're going to flip it over again. Yes, you do unfold it, sorry. So unfold it. So you just have the crease here. That's what you want. You want it to make a crease. And then you do what's called an outside reverse fold.
Oh my
If
God.
anybody's like really into it.
That sounded crazy. An outside reverse fold.
Woo.
So what you'll want to do, and they don't really show this in the video, but basically you kind of make it like this, where it has like wingtips, and then you hold it vertically, and you can kind of separate these and push it down. That's the easiest way to do that. Exactly. So let's do the other one. See, there's kind of like a loop here. You stick your finger in the paper loop and then push it down.
That's a good idea.
That's good. Using your tools right there.
Yeah.
It is. That's really good. Put a pencil in there. There we go. Got it. That's good. Look at that.
Right?
Look at that.
That's what I said. You've got that checkpoint a couple steps back, and this is a little too complicated.
Wow.
So you're
Very
gonna do that
nice.
on both sides. And again, like I said, this is an optional step. If you see folks struggling or you just don't want to do it, you do not have to. Now you're going to fold the top corner. That's going to be your head. You're going to fold it down and then flip it over again. And then there's your bee with the little wings. So now what I have in our last couple of minutes, I've got some googly eyes, I've got some markers. If you guys want to personalize it, give him some stripes, maybe some tattoos, I don't know. Crayons if you'd rather. The googly eyes are sticky backs. I won't tell anybody if you take a couple extra, like I have tons of these. So yeah, feel free to. Grab some, they're the various sizes. And what I also have up here for you guys to look at, if you're not super big on the live insects, I do have a lot of preserved insects. All of these were actually caught in Georgia, so they are all Georgia native insects. So you might be actually like seeing these at in your lawn or on a walk through Lake Herrick or something.
That's great.
What species is
That is a sulfur butterfly. It's also related to, I can't remember the species name, but it's related to cabbage leavers also. Everywhere.
really
Yes. Yes. They're everywhere.
Really
so these are
good.
three distinct groups. We've got the tiger swallowtail. These are Papillionidae. This is the state insect of Georgia. And then you got his
Working on this bee.
Oh yeah. Pretty intense stuff.
There it is.
They are cool because they're an exception.
I might have done this right. I might not.
Arts and crafts, and they're doing good. Look at this.
between like the white side and the red side?
Pretty cool.
Andrew, how does your flow?
You're not like me, Michaela. I'm not. You're probably a lot better than me. I'd have to rewatch. The video would have a lot more views if I was doing this because I'd be rewatching a bunch.
All right, you guys, so that is it for structured programming. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to either just shout them out or come up and ask me. I'm around. Yes, we've got 5-7 minutes to play with.
Yeah.
So thank you guys.